go. And his future up in the air right now, Matt Berry.
It is. Look, there was a list of teams that Shams Charania has reported on that could be interested in him. The final three look to be the Heat, Spurs, and Rockets as trade destinations. You may remember the initial list of interested teams also included the Knicks and the Timberwolves. Phoenix tried to deal him to the Warriors at the trade deadline, but he vetoed the deal. So as we bring in Shams Charania, who's reporting the news, and Chiney Ogwumike with us. Shams, I want to start with you. Give us the latest on where things stand with KD and where he could land.
I'm told the Phoenix Suns remain in active conversations around the league on a Kevin Durant deal, but their focus over the last several days has been on three teams, and that's the Miami Heat, Houston Rockets, and Minnesota Timberwolves. We know his preferred destinations, though, are the Rockets, Spurs, and the Heat. And so the Suns have been working with Durant's business partner, Rich Kleiman, on just figuring out exactly where he could end up. Could it be one of his three preferred destinations? Could it be a wild card team? Because, listen, at the end of the day, his expiring contract of $54.7 million is going to play a part in this. And I'm told Durant has no desire to be in Minnesota with the Timberwolves. So how does that shape how the Minnesota Timberwolves and other teams that could have interest that are outside his preferred list decide how to move forward with these Durant discussions? Yeah,
because then you see the preferred list, you're like, well, wait a second. Does he want to come to us if we're not one of those three teams? And Chiney, look, we're not arguing KD is not an elite player. He certainly is, but he is turning 37 in September. So given his age, which landing spot makes the most sense for both him and the teams on his list?
Hey, we don't say he's old. We say he's seasoned, okay?
That's right. That's
all
right.
right? He might be turning 37, but he's still averaging 27, like 6 and 5. So those are great numbers. Now, if there's one song to serenade Kevin Durant to a new city, it's Welcome to Miami. Bienvenido a Miami. Because I feel like that's just a perfect fit. Again, this is a team that was 21st in offensive rating. They need a boost of someone that can score, and he's an automatic bucket, especially from the mid-range. Then it comes to timelines. The reason why I removed Houston, my city, from the list is because this is a veteran, a young veteran squad. You know, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, he can sort of help guide them to the next iteration of greatness. And last, the East is wide open. I feel like that's better than the West. So I'm looking at Miami as a perfect fit for Kevin Durant.
The West is loaded. You could name 6 teams out West that could win a title, and you certainly want to go to an East where you could probably pivot your way through there a little bit easier. Speaking of a pivot, the big trade yesterday and what it all means for the teams and players involved. Desmond Bane gets traded to the Magic. The Grizzlies get a lot of draft picks, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Cole Anthony in return. Shams, what does this trade mean for the futures of Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr.?
I'm told the Grizzlies are signaling privately that they will continue to build around Ja Morant and Jaren Jackson Jr. The Grizzlies view this as a pivot away from that core of Desmond Bane, Ja Morant, and Jaren Jackson Jr. and allow this team to have a little bit more youth, a little bit more financial flexibility moving forward. And then, most importantly, a massive haul of draft picks, 4 unprotected first-round picks, 1 lightly protected pick swap, and they really want to continue to build around those two, and that allows them to have a level of flexibility. And one big thing here is also the extension of Jaren Jackson Jr., which they believe this trade helps with as well.
So on the other side of this, Chiney, what are your expectations for how Ja and Jaren will perform next season in a new system and without Bane as their teammate?
Well, Shams said it's a pivot. For me, I'm going to call it a competitive reset because we all know that the era of big 3 superstars, that's gone. Now it's really focusing on 2 tremendous stars and building around them. I mean, we're here in Oklahoma City where you see the value of a team-oriented type of basketball, not just superstars out there. But what do I expect from Jaren Jackson Jr.? I mean, they already combined give you 55 points per game. And the last place you want to be is in the middle. You guys know I love songs like, baby, why don't you meet me in the middle? No. You don't want to be in the middle, especially in the Western Conference or in the NBA overall. You want to be ascending upward or you want to be resetting or rebuilding. So I think this is a good evaluation point to build around their 2 stars instead of trying to aggregate around 3 because we all know the impact of the second apron. It's very hefty.
And look, SGA was absolutely awesome in the fourth quarter of Game 4. 15 points in his last 5 minutes, I should say. Did the Thunder kind of find the right formula to preserve SGA for the moments that matter most, Chiney?
They absolutely did. I've been saying it all series long that this series will not come down to the number one option. It's actually coming down to who's the best number two. And in game 4, we found out it was J-Dub, number 2. He had 27 points, and his ability to score off of drives was huge, was crucial. He had over 30 points in the last 2 games off of drives. His average possession length was 6 seconds long, which is the longest ever of his career, which means he had the rock, and they knew that he could bring him home, especially the first 3 quarters, and then they allowed SGA, the MVP, to cook in the 4th. That is a beautiful template. That is like peak Thunder basketball. If you can rest the MVP and allow him to close, that would be awesome.
Yeah, just using him for shooting. Remember, he had 0 assists, and that seems to maybe be the formula for the Thunder, because when SGA is 2 assists or fewer, they're undefeated. They're 6-0. OKC shut down the Pacers, though, in the 4th quarter. Speaking of assists, Indiana had 1 assist as a team. Halliburton didn't have any. What does Indiana need to do to play better offensively late?
I feel like it's weird to say this in basketball because we always think of Philly, but they need to trust the process. They need to trust the system. The system is truly amazing. That's offensively. Tyrese Halliburton has to score early, and he has to get his confidence up, because when he does that late in games, especially 4th quarter, that's when he finds plays. You know, he's able to assist the ball. This is a team that led an assist-to-turnover ratio, that leads the postseason assists. This is a player, Tyrese Halliburton, that leads the playoffs in assists himself. So overall, if they're able to trust their system that got them here, which is scoring early but then passing late and really keying on the supporting cast, that to me is the recipe for success, because right here, it's going to be crazy. This is where the Thunder defense shows up best, but you need this offense to show up in the moments that matter the most, and so far that really comes through assisting the ball.
It's time for a little Chaye or Chanae. So Chanae's going to tell us if she agrees with us or not in the statements I'm about to read. Chaye means that she agrees. Pacers need Halliburton's playmaking more than his scoring in the 4th quarter. Chaye or Chanae?
Chaye to this, and the magic number is 11. When Tyrese Halliburton has 11 assists, his squad, the Pacers, this postseason are undefeated, 9-0. They need him to score in the 1st, in the 2nd, in the 3rd, and play make in the 4th. That's the secret sauce.
Okay, Chaye or Chanae? The Thunder need SGA's scoring more than they need his passing.
I know this might sound crazy, but I'm going to say nay, because we already know he wakes up and gets 30 points. That's in the stat sheet. But when he is able to assist like he was in game 2, where he had 34 points and 8 assists, this team was truly unguardable, because he is a double-team magnet, and his teammates are able to knock down perimeter shots and threes. So he will need to focus on his passing as well.
Okay, Chaye or Chanae? The play of Jalen Williams and Pascal Siakam will determine the winner of Game 5. Chaye or Chanae? Chanae?
Chaye, yay. As I said earlier, the number 2s will dictate who's number 1 and who will drop a banner. In game 3, the number 2 was Pascal Siakam, who had 21 points. In game 4, it was J-Dub, who had 27. And again, I mentioned in those last 2 games, 30-plus off of drives. So those 2 guys, the secondary ball handlers, need to look like they have the primary mindset, especially considering that the top players are going to be well defended between SGA and Tyrese Halliburton.
Jamal Collier's with the Pacers. Tim McMahon is with the Thunder. Jamal, I'm starting with you here. Pacers have not lost back-to-back games since March 10th. What are they saying about moving on from Friday's loss now?
Yeah, Shay, it stood out what Tyrese Halliburton said after practice yesterday, that this is his favorite game of a playoff series. This is the game where they have a chance to respond. And the Pacers have been very good in these games throughout the playoffs. They are 5-0 after a loss, and it's because they haven't spent a lot of time dwelling on the disappointment and the missed opportunity of going down 3-1, but approach this game to figure out what ways they can get better, what opportunities that they can improve after a loss like this. And that comes down to too many offensive rebounds in the 4th quarter. They feel like they fouled SGA too much down the stretch and could do a better job defending him. And Pascal Siakam, he got 1 shot down the stretch in the 4th quarter. Those are things that Pacers really feel like that they need to clean up. And they've been very good of watching the film, figuring out new ways to attack, and coming out stronger. Learning to get better from these losses has really been a strength for them throughout the playoffs. They're going to try to continue that in a tough environment here tonight.
Look, Pascal Siakam is the lone guy with the ring there on that team, so he probably wants the ball in this kind of situation. Give it to him. Tim, even though the Thunder won Game 4, there's a lot that they want to clean up. What specifically do they want to focus on now in Game 5 at home?
Howdy, Shay. The short answer is a whole lot. Mark Daigneault says they really kind of have to look at Game 4 almost like a loss in terms of the film study and how they want to respond to that, being critical of themselves. Offensive process. Forget the fact they only made 3 threes. They only got up 17 three-point attempts. Defensively, they felt like for the first few quarters they weren't as on point as they wanted to be. And then a lot of this is just, listen, the Pacers play fast. They do not play finesse. The Pacers are a tough, physical team. They were tougher. They were more physical than Oklahoma City for the first 3 quarters. That is something the Thunder absolutely are determined to fix. As Chet Holmgren said this morning, luck always tends to favor the aggressors.
And then wouldn't really necessarily be luck now, would it? It would be the more aggressive team. The home team has a 21-10 record in Game 5 when the finals are tied at 2-2. So the Thunder got a good shot tonight. We'll see what happens. Jamal, Tim, thank you both.